Good morning, afternoon, evening, or night. We're back with another Shotgun Thoughts podcast. Going to be talking about the duality of nature. Knowledge and ignorance are one and the same. Truth is always present. Whether it's observed or ignored is the difference. And the true power of humanity is our individuality and our duality to build community. Through an ever present push and pull, we ebb and flow to find a balance between both extremes, a place where turbulence dulls and the colors bloom. Without our greatest obstacles, we will never reach our greatest heights. Through these hard times, value lost has been replaced by lessons learned. This is evident in no greater time than now, when as Americans we're inherently being called to unite and defend our way of life and the world against an unseen and many-headed evil rotting us from within. For all our hardship we will endure and we will prosper. Our time lays in wait, holding the line for our opportunities to triumph. It is not through wild flailing we've made this land our home. It is through our adaptability and unbreakable spirit against unspeakable odds, a defining characteristic of all patriots that make this country their home. True North represents our direction in the universe, which is why many structures are aligned to this that last the test of time. They are facing primordial winds and currents, either a slanted face to torrid currents or an angle against the winds. And as so, they're fortified to its turbulence, like a mountain cut against the wind. Our flag flies forward on the arm swatches of our soldiers, and the American spirit shines through and strongest at early dawn. Never forget that we are born from the adversity our forebears overcame through sheer grit. This determination carries us forth to bring a renewal of hope for all others upon this world, to rebalance an uneven pendulum swung too heavily, a siren call to those in need that hope is not too far for anyone with a dream, a heart strong enough to carry it forth, and a spirit unbreakable to reach that end. No valley shall ever swallow the human spirit. Instead, it will be rebuilt from its deepest trenches in our image. What we fear will consume us only ever makes us whole. We will find our place where no place is known, and we make it ours. A steadfast entrenchment upon the banks of the unknown, always one step from certain oblivion. The sleeping giant is awakening. The American people are being shaken from their somnambulic march through over a century of psychosociological manipulation. Bad actors have enacted self-correction by showing the world their duplicitous nature and how badly their policies and secrets can end. We learned of the right's extremism and its limits and red flags when the Nazis had gone too far, and I think this is the self-correction for that same extremism on the left. God's plan has been to let evil rise to the top for it to be lopped off in a one-sided strike. For as evil empowers, the head swells and the eyes blind. What we are witnessing now are the wailing gasps of an injured foe. Without severe consequence, we are likely doomed to repeat until tragedy teaches us generational and epigenetic experience. Our evolution revolves around our revolutions and the meaning in those. Whether their divulgence are retained and acknowledged is another story altogether. I firmly believe in tact where brawn lacks merit. In an ever growing and increasingly digital and sedentary world, People are changing. Some things for the better, others worse. Where I've been stricken with MS, a malady that affects my brain and spinal cord, and mostly my physical mobility, I have intense mental and psychological experiences that seem compensatory. I can learn rapidly, and I have understanding of things that I should know nothing about. I alone am not a witness. Others who have family members with an autoimmune disease or autism might understand this better than most. There's a power we are tuned into, and it rides through us like lightning. In most cases, I think it cannot be controlled and consumes those bearing it. I chose not to believe in my disability as a hindrance, but instead a gift that has focused my abilities intently on what I am capable of instead of what I might not be. An inherent lifesaver for my own sake. I was headed down a path of self-destruction, mainly because I was intent on doing things I was not prone to do in life, as I had found out later with my diagnosis of MS. And as awkward as it is to be proud to have your life be dismal, I found a higher purpose choosing to embrace the path that would welcome another into my life as a primary focus. Financially, I planned acutely and too tight for my own good. Little did I know being broke was actually pretty good to attract the right woman. And first I sought this out, but I learned rather quickly love should not be pursued, but it should be kept watch for. For all the times I chased my desires, I stumbled unwillingly into experiences I would have opted out of had I only known. But I grew in turn, learning from my mistakes quite simply what I did not want, coldly shaking off parts of myself that led me to this while using the experience to foster perspective and knowledge. Why is it that those who turned away from traditions and autonomy into our badly interpreted stations on life challenge, ponder, pursue, critique, comedians, defectors, whistleblowers, philosophers, innovators, the list goes on. The Einsteins of the world are enveloped in a personal endgame, and their position on reality is being interpreted through a downgraded lens for people like myself to understand. Who would have otherwise found it difficult to grasp the implications and severity of such mutterings? It's more a rule than an exception that the fringes of society move us equally as immensely as the masses. Look at colleges. All the classrooms were designed to interpret work of pioneers who had little to no foundation to work from, and invented the course that people study in the first place by pure practical intent. This has been flipped on its head nowadays, and everything is like the blind are attempting to lead the masses. The distorted lens that we're seeing through is really leaving us bereft. In the 21st century, there's just an understanding of our world that we have not come into yet. There is so much information out there about so many things that there's no consensus like old. Back in the day, we used to have these great minds meeting, convening, and dictating in simple terms for people like myself. You know, what is the best thing to do? And right now, there are so many things that have been really turned on their head and totally distorted through this lens where those same institutions and foundations, you know, quite literally, they have turned against us. And that is what our founding fathers have always kept in mind, is that we really need to innovate and by that it means to get rid of the old, and there's a renewal as part of the process itself, that when things start to stagnate, there's a reason why history with human beings is cyclical. There's things that repeat because ultimately we we end up feeling the same way as a society, is that no matter what happens and the actual context, the meaning that we feel from these accomplishments and from the problems that we have, they always seem to culminate in the same ways that take the direction of the human race ultimately in an upward trajectory. And we have our wobbles on the graph, but ultimately we do prevail. We do prevail. And we are the cockroaches of this planet. You know, we can't stand the cockroaches. There's nothing that we can do that makes them go away. And so long as this earth is not burning or a frozen ice ball, we will continue to thrive. We'll crawl into the cracks and crevices of this planet as we have before. See that with sites in Turkey, and I wish I had a pod to my podcast, but we're doing a lone show broadcast here, which I'll say it now. I usually don't in the middle. If you like this, please support, subscribe, do whatever you can, share, tell a family member, whatever it might be. I always appreciate your support, trying to get the word out there. But ultimately, we're just trying to share experiences, share enlightenment, and really hope that, I mean, you could have a 5 head and still be pretty cool, you know what I mean? No matter what happens, there's always a way to prevail, and there's so many shortcomings that you can have, but deciding that that's what you will focus on will never lead you to the things that are not your shortcomings, the things that are what make you, an individual capable of bringing a unique mindset and perspective. And all you have to do to really let that happen is just embrace who you are. It's like a river that, instead of you trying to constantly dictate where it is that you would like to go, you decide that you're going to take yourself and just let it go wherever the winds and the currents might take you. And that is all part of finding yourself. And that's a lot of the reason why, like my father, he just constantly told me to get out there, get out there, get out there. And as much as I had my mindset on not just going with the flow and throwing myself at life, because I had my plan. When I was growing up, I had my plan. And, you know, good quote is that life is what happens when you're making other plans. And, while you got your things set out, guess what? Life is going to take you on a journey, and you can fight that as much as you like. But the earlier you embrace that, you're going to start to see things in your life, quality things that you were passing right by, and you won't even be able to count the amount by the time that you really figure out in life what it is that's right for you. And I can't say that I know everything about what it is that I want, but I know that I'm following on a path that is helping me to find those things, because everything that I do is for the good of those around me. And I try to always bring that with me into everything that I do, is to really be of service to my fellow man in one way or the other, because at the end of the day, those are the people who I would rely on. If all else fails, those are the people I rely on, or those around me, my community, and I wish there was more that I was involved in. And I shouldn't even say that. because, a wish and a want don't know the rest of that. But either way, shouldn't wish for things that I can do myself. So I do aspire to be more involved and try to reach those people who I might be able to help the most. But you just got to do what you can, and unfortunately, I don't have anywhere near the amount of energy I would like to have. I'm continually trying to get myself healthier, and that's a constant struggle. I mean, holy crap. I think a huge step forward in today's society is getting off of social media. Like, it's not a joke. I mean, I've been so integrated with the internet since I'm like 10 years old, and you're talking long time with this shit. But there's always times where you need to push back, because ultimately we're gonna find out, mark my words, we're gonna find out real quick that this whole AI thing is gonna be supportive, just as it has been right now. It's all going to be very supportive, just like, it's helping you do things. It's helping everything. Like, it's helping humans facilitate what they are looking to do. There are the cases where it's going to be like a robot or something like that, but even still, these things are going to be found to be pretty inept and incapable, and there's going to be a myriad of problems that were never really accounted for. And it's going to fall into more of a support role, at least for the current moment. There really is not going to be these like wide sweeping changes with that stuff, and when it does come, it probably is going to come too fast to even stop it anyway. So there's no point. And right now you're witnessing that pushback with ChatGPT. They know there was a massive drop off in usership. It's just like people get burnt out on this stuff. We're moving at like light speed right now. We really need to calm down and recollect everything that's been happening, and sort through this stuff, because there has been so many wild things that have happened over the past 20, 30 years. I mean, literally in my lifetime, you're talking about going from a corded phone, like wire going through the house, dial up modems and shit. And now you're talking about the Voyager. I was watching something the other day. The two Voyager space exploratory devices that we sent out. It's over 50 years now that these things are out there, and they're literally operating with like some of the earliest cell phone technology. Like, that's basically what they're running on. The freaking amount of processing power that is going on in those things, it's astronomical that we're able to communicate with them. They send us pictures still, and they're still out there 50 years later. I think it's like billions of miles away, these things. It's absolutely phenomenal what we're capable of, what technology is capable of. But at the same time, it's like that that's what we can do when we're like focused on something. And right now, we're focused on advancing. So like, we're not keeping track of anything. Like, the pace of what's going on right now we can't keep track of it. We cannot keep track of it. There's like not enough time in the human lifetime, which is why we're really using the AI to support us, is because there's so much stuff out there that we need the AI to just condense this. People are watching videos at like 1.5 speed now to just try and absorb as much as they can, because ultimately they know they're going to be watching like 500 episodes of a podcast or something like that, and like they're just trying to retain this information. So there's going to be pushback on all types of advancements that happen. Nothing is going to be this linear straight line. It's like Joe Rogan thinking that the neural implant is going to be this, like, you're reading minds right away and everything like that. I think these things are going to happen very slowly. I mean, there's a reason why they call them disruptive technologies. And we know that like millions of disruptive technologies just get repossessed, repurposed. I mean, there are tons of patents for drugs that the companies just buy up from the individual who had discovered this that would ultimately break the industry. And then they just hide it and store it away until it becomes relevant again, or they can find a way to just slowly trickle money out of these things. So, you know, planned obsolescence with technological products or just really anything nowadays, it's made to break. They know pretty much how long it's going to last, when it's going to break. So all these things are, excuse me, very parched, very parched. A lot of talking. But anyway, a lot of these things are just, you know, it's not simple. That's for sure. It can be easy to look into these things, but it's not simple to grasp them in their full capacity. But anyway, I'm running on E right now. Anyway, I appreciate you guys listening. Thank you for tuning into the podcast. Love it. Appreciate you watching. Like, subscribe, share it with your fellow man. Thank you very much.